Friday, everyone. I'm certain it's Friday. I feel like every day I introduce the show, I'm like, did I just say the right day or the wrong day? But today is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody watching. Happy Friday, Maggie. I feel like this is a great way to end the week for dailies.
I'm very excited about doing it today with you.
So we have good stories to get to today. But first, what's going on? Tell me about something you did this week work-wise that you are proud of and you want to celebrate.
I am very excited that I interviewed Daniel Bruhl this week. That felt like a long time coming, and I can't wait to share it here in a few weeks with everybody. So that was an excellent conversation and well worth the wait.
I will take that. We're gonna have lots of good interviews to celebrate. There's that. I feel like I've got American fiction stuff,
Yeah.
Iron Claw stuff, lots of good conversations coming your way on the Collider Interviews YouTube channel. So obviously subscribe to this one, but subscribe to that one too. You'll
Yes.
like literally never be wondering like where am I gonna find content to fill my days because we have you covered on those two channels. You ready for our first story of the day? It's a big
I
one.
am.
It's a big one. So this is we're calling it in our fancy little lower third the cameo porn problem. So we picked up this topic via a Deadline report, and Deadline caught this exchange happening on Threads recently. And I'll read a little bit from their article so you have the background here. So apparently, James Gunn was chatting with some fans on Threads when he called out a lack of consistency in the DC universe. And he goes on to say one of the problems with the DCEU content in the past was there was no real consistency within the universe itself. This never meant, and I never said, as this is how we always envisioned it, all animated and video game content would be in the DCU. I did and still say most TV and film will be in the DCU with the occasional Elseworld tale, like Matt's the Batman, but it will have to be exceptional. So, like, that's the first chunk. And then some of the follow up questions pertain specifically to cameos. So some folks were asking James Gunn what kind of characters we could see popping up in upcoming projects. And that's when James Gunn started to address the fact that, you know, sometimes they don't serve that much of a story purpose. He goes on to say that's fine if it doesn't disrupt the story. It's the plot contrivances that develop from a cameo, not the cameo itself. And then when a commenter specifically brought up having a character appear on screen for like merely 10 seconds just to check a box, that being a problem, Gunn brought up the cameo porn idea. He writes, I call that cameo porn, and it has been one of the worst elements of recent superhero movies. If a character is in a film, they have to have a reason to be there story wise. I couldn't agree more
Yeah.
with that take right there. How are you feeling about those comments and the state of cameos in superhero movies, Maggie?
I'm so glad that somebody who's making superhero movies is acknowledging this because I mean this has been fundamentally one of my biggest issues with like the MCU recently with their like post credit cameos. People are just waiting for that tease and then are like, is it ever going to get paid off? You know, and then you're thinking about that and you've forgotten the movie you just watched that so much effort was put into and storytelling was put into because the cameo just like derails everyone's like thought process. So he's right on the money with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree as well here. And this is something that I say, this isn't just with cameos. This is just like a broader point on continuing franchises. I do think there is a place for fan service because it
Mhm.
is something special when you build a fandom and people continue for many, many years along with a film series. But with every single installment of a franchise, you don't want to narrow your audience, you want to expand it. So I feel
Exactly.
like sometimes cameos happen in a way that make newcomers feel not as included as they
Mhm.
should be. And that could be detrimental to the continuation of a franchise. So that's definitely something that's crossed my mind a good deal. So I do think that it's been a problem, but I think there's a lot of really good examples of times when it's been done well, especially recently. Like, for example, one thing that came to my mind was I thought the sequence in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was done really well because it's warranted based on the narrative, based on the multiverse narrative, that you would have those characters pop up in a different way. And as someone who loves horror in general and Sam Raimi horror, obviously I was going to be tickled by a very bloody sequence like that. So that is a good example for me. Do you have any good examples that have worked recently?
I mean, I feel like I would be amiss not to like talk about Wonder Woman 1984's end scene with Linda Carter. I thought that was a really nice like homage to her Wonder Woman, and had we had that, threequel, I feel like that would have been paid off. Like that was setting up a story there, and that's one that I'm at least very like fond of because I have a connection to that having worked on Wonder Woman 1984. But that one always stands out to me because I thought that was a really nice like just payoff for
Mhm.
fans of Linda Carter's Wonder Woman.
I haven't really like given this much thought, I guess because it's been such a constant in the MCU, but another good example I feel like of a cameo that's effective and is world building is whenever they include Nick Fury. I
Oh,
mean, that
yes.
like that to me is the definition of a cameo with purpose that
Mhm.
builds towards something big. So I quite like that. And then in a different sense, I also think there's great opportunity just in terms of like I guess having fun seeing famous faces, but while making sure it feels natural and in world. And the best example I was able to come up with of that is Thor Ragnarok, when they're reenacting the scenes from the previous movie, and you get this Matt Damon, Sam Neill, and Luke Hemsworth. Like that's hilarious. That's
Yes,
hilarious in world, but it's also hilarious as a movie fan who admires these actors. So I
absolutely.
feel like that's a great example of something like getting the best of both worlds
I
there.
think it's kind of to that, and this is much more like plot driven, but the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, like to speak of
Oh,
James Gunn, like the Kevin Bacon thing was just like absolutely hilarious for so many reasons, but
he
it
knows
worked.
what he's doing.
It
I was
really worked.
actually just looking at a comment in the live chat. It's from TNJ Omaha. He writes, I still doubt he, as in James Gunn, is going to be able to juggle all of the characters he wants in Superman Legacy. I was thinking about this comment
Mhm.
because you just brought up what he does with Guardians. And like I understand it's a lot. And it's a lot to do all those key characters justice in a single movie. But look at what Gunn's done with rather large ensembles in the Guardians movie, in Suicide Squad and
Mhm.
Peacemaker. And Peacemaker, you have a little more opportunity because it's the series format, but like dude definitely has a history of proving that he can include a large amount of characters and make sure that like all of them serve a purpose, all of them
Mhm.
experience growth and like have a satisfying arc. So I
Yeah.
feel like he's going to pull it off.
Even in the projects that he's just written for some of his previous work, I think he does really well with paying off character arcs for a really large ensemble. So I do think that's like probably one of the reasons why he was a shoe-in for that gig, because he has this like, track history of doing really well with large ensembles, which I
Yeah.
mean superhero movies warrant that.
I got faith. I got faith. I wanted to bring up two non-superhero movie cameos that I really like. It's going to be
Oh.
no surprise when I name drop these. First, I love that Martha Meeks is in Scream 5. That
Oh.
seemed just so smart and effective. And as a longtime fan, especially in that particular scene, because that's the scene where Jasmine Savoy Brown gives that speech where, like, it feels like as a lifelong Scream lover, she was talking to me and everything around me just melted away. But to have to have a character so heavily connected to a key legacy character in Randy be included in a way where it makes sense for uh Jasmine and Mason Gooding's characters, but
Mhm.
also in a way that's like we see you Scream fans. We know the importance of this. Again, best of both worlds. I love that one.
I love that.
And then the other one I wanted to mention because it's iconic. It's Jimmy Buffett in Jurassic World. Like a simple little thing that's just so satisfying and meaningful to see. And I just like I love little things like that just have really big payoffs and just work exceptionally well.
I love that. That's very nice.
Those good ones. Those are
Yeah,
good
those are
ones.
good ones.
All right. We're moving on to our next topic now. This one is Twisters.
Yes.
Maggie, I'm so excited for this movie.
It sounds really
Well,
cool.
are you in the Twister fan club like I am? Because I watched that movie more times than I can count in the '90s, and I still watch it nonstop today.
I'm afraid of natural disasters. So I saw it like one
Fair
time and
enough.
I'm like, that's good for me. I'm actually much more afraid of tsunamis. That's like the thing that I fear, and like have earthquake checkers on my phone and stuff. So I've seen it like one time, gave me nightmares. I was good to go. I watched it when I was like probably 9 or 10. But this movie is making me like maybe think I'll be able to watch it because what we're getting from like these details and the cast, it just sounds like maybe I can set aside my personal fears for
I'm
it.
actually thinking it's the opposite though, because I feel like this Twister movie is going to feel more like real and now because of the climate change element.
I can
Also,
fixate on that. I'll fixate on that and be like, ah, yes, a movie talking about actual issues right now and not
I
like the ever pressing fear.
I find it funny that tsunami is like your chief fear when like you're not located in a part of the world where that's a thing that happens.
So, but anytime I go anywhere near the coast, I'm like, well, I guess I need to check to make sure there's nothing going on
Oh
off the
god.
coast.
I mean,
I took
natural disasters are
oceanography in
scary.
college and it cemented the fear, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. I get that. I get that. When I was growing up watching the 1996 Twister movie, it was definitely one of those earlier movies that I guess made me realize the fact that like these things could scare me and keep me awake at night, but in a way that like I guess I kind of found appealing, especially growing up in New York where, you know, tornadoes weren't a frequent
Yeah.
thing. It is a situation where I think I felt removed from that danger. So experiencing the danger in the comfort of like my own home or in a theater, it felt okay. And I started to recognize like I got a rise out of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's the same thing with things like Scream. I very much recognize the fact that the fear is something that I enjoyed,
Yeah.
especially from the safety of my home. But I think there is so much potential in another Twister movie. I'm like kind of glad that it took this long to make another Twister movie. I think that's going to benefit us here,
Mhm.
especially with the climate change element, because I do think that's something that's going to make it stand out from the 1996 movie. And then another thing that's going to make it stand out is Lee Isaac Chung directing, because I never in a million years would have guessed, like, oh, the Minari director is going to go do a Twister movie next. That just seems like such a big leap. But, you know, when I was talking to Maura Tierney about the movie, she basically emphasized the fact that, well, like, he can do anything. And I have that belief. I really do think he can do anything. So a lot of these quotes that we're talking about come from Steve's interview with the writer of the new Twisters movie, Mark L. Smith, who, of course, co wrote The Revenant. And right now he's out and about promoting The Boys in the Boat. So lots of information here. So he told Steve, it's a lot of fun. It was something that Joe Kaczynski and I came up with. Joe reached out. He had this great idea to get back into the Twister world. And so he sent me the pitch, and it was fun. We kind of beat it out. And then we went to Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall, and then they signed off. Universal signed off. So I wrote it, and it was all set, and Spielberg was ready to go. And he was excited, and it was going to be Joe. So Joe Kaczynski originally was meant to direct it, but then things with the Brad Pitt F1 movie came up, and eventually it was Lee Isaac Chung who stepped in and was going to direct the film. And then while talking about him in particular, Smith said, it's a lot of fun. He did his own thing to the script a little bit because that's what they do. So I don't know about some of the changes exactly. So I don't know the details, but it's a separate story. So as in separate from the 1996 original. It is
Mhm.
not a continuation of the original, but it's just a real wild ride with some good, fun characters. Hopefully, we can tap into what the original had, because that is just iconic. But it's so cool to have a director like Isaac taking on something like this. It's just so out of his norm, and I think he's having fun. I was texting with him a couple days ago, and it's just all craziness, and it's just all craziness of it. So from there, and this is like another big story element here. Steve did dig into the idea that this is not a continuation, because I had read reports out there that I think it was one of the characters, like there was a kid that was
Mhm.
related to Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton's characters or something like that. But Smith basically debunked that. He said that was something we had talked about. And as we were writing it, it was like, oh, this would be a great moment if we wanted to add another element to it. But Joe had always kind of envisioned it as a standalone, that it wasn't connected. And probably some of that was just because after Top Gun, it was like, okay, now let me have my original rather than just hitching it onto the next. Maggie, what is your take on that? Does it make for a stronger sequel that it is not directly connected to the original, or vice versa?
I think to some degree, it would have been nice to be connected to Twister, especially because, everybody loved Bill Paxton and to have that kind of legacy carried on. But I do think that had it been Joe doing it right after Top Gun Maverick, I can definitely see why he was like, I don't want to do that again, because so much of the success is because it played upon so neatly the nostalgia and like the next generation of it. And I think that this might work as its own thing, maybe better, because there is a whole new generation of moviegoers that maybe aren't attached to Twister in the same way, that this might get them interested and
That's
involved
true.
without having to like revisit it. So I think it could work. I am definitely a little bit disappointed because I do love legacy sequels that like do it well. Like Top Gun Maverick is like such a good example of that.
Hmm.
So I am a little disappointed because I was excited when I originally saw those rumors. So it is a little sad that it's been debunked now.
I get it. I get it. And what you just brought up kind of links to what I had said earlier, the idea of not narrowing your fan base, but expanding it. So when I first heard the news that maybe there was a character who was related to them, like, yeah, I was a little excited about that. But, in thinking about the possibilities of making something that stands on its own 2 feet, but at least respects the 1996 original,
Mhm.
I do think that's inherent in any Twister movie. But also, I think there is potential in maybe referencing that particular storm chasing crew and
Mhm.
the precedent that they set, because I have to imagine their accomplishments in the 1996 movie might pave the way to whatever technology that this storm chasing team is using, and that could be like a really natural, like, story and character forward way of linking the two films together without being like, haha, look who this one's related to. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there that could work really well, and again, feel not like a shoehorned in cameo, but something natural where one movie is building on the other. There's one
Exactly.
more interesting quote here about the climate change elements of the movie. I talked to so many storm experts, tornado experts, storm chasers, and rode around with some, even the tornado season itself. Because of climate change, what used to be Tornado Alley going through a certain stretch, it now extends so further east and it's moving across, and the dates are wider and the numbers are higher and the storms themselves are more violent. So we did use elements of that just to shine a light on it as well, the causes and effects of climate change. You have to do that. You have to do that.
Absolutely.
I feel like as much as we all want, big crazy blockbusters, and again, I do have a soft spot for experiencing scary things on the big screen that I know I'm removed from in real life, but given climate change and its effect on things like, for example, Tornado Alley, I do think that if you do not reference things like that, it might feel too ridiculous
Mhm.
and therefore not scary and tense. And also, like, you have to mention the important things that are happening in the world, especially when you're exploring a situation so directly tied to
Mhm.
it. So there's many layers here that I think lean towards them needing to respect the fact that climate change must be addressed in this movie.
Absolutely. Especially when you have a country that more people experience tornadoes than don't.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
tornadoes definitely scare
I've
me.
definitely hidden in hallways during big storms. So
Oh God, really?
yeah, we get tornado warnings here all the time.
Do you really?
Mhm.
I guess
My
that
entire life. Yeah.
literally is what he's talking about here.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Well, I
That's
hope you
probably
could
why I also don't like tornadoes, the
I would
tornado movies, because I'm like, "Yeah, I've done that. It's not
I
exciting."
hope you could sit through this movie. I've got high hopes you will be able
I
to.
will.
And
I need
again,
Glenn Powell, so I'm gonna watch.
oh yeah, of course. And also, like, I'm a big fan of scares with purpose.
Yes.
And I have a feeling they're gonna deliver a meaty story that is, yes, a fun wild blockbuster ride, but also has a little meaty, like thematic heft to it. So I
Yeah.
want that. All right, our last topic today is a fun one. It's the holidays. You don't have all that long at this holidays, so we thought we would help you out, especially if you have some movie and TV lovers in your life. So this is our little mini holiday gift guide for you. We each picked 3 things, and we'll go back and forth. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to take it first?
I'm happy to go first.
Have at it.
Okay. I recommend buying somebody in your family or in your friend circle a Nubs. He is from the High Republic, the Star Wars High Republic series, and you can also watch him in Young Jedi Adventures. He comes in many different forms: action figure, a stuffy. You can get a Christmas ornament. I think he's very delightful. He is the new Baby Yoda, and I think everybody needs one in their house just to have when they're feeling sad. So.
I appreciate that you brought visuals here. I wish I did. I like
I was
literally
the
have
only one with visuals. That's why I was like, I'll go first with it.
I have an example of what I'm about to say downstairs, and it's not upstairs. And I don't think I don't have any tiki mugs here. So I've arranged my list in like price tiers. So it's like if you want something like a little more affordable, but then my last thing is like you got to commit. You got to commit to buying this gift for, I mean, yourself or a very special person in your life. But first tier here, I'm going with the Toink Geeky Tiki mugs because I think that I have the one that I'm referring to downstairs. You could look it up very easily. It's the Killer Clowns from Outer Space set. I bought a set while we
Yes.
were at Comic Con this year, and I took one, and then two of my friends took the other two. But they're really just like whether you're actually drinking out of a tiki mug or not, or just like displaying it. They're really nicely designed mugs, and they hit so many different brands. So I feel like no matter what that person you're getting the gift for likes, they probably have a mug on the site that is like really cool looking and also suits their interest. So I highly recommend checking out their sites and some of those mugs.
I love that. I have a friend who collects all of them and has an entire tiki room filled with tiki mugs. It's a whole thing. So yes.
That would make me so nervous that I would knock them over. Like I'm very careful with where I place my tiki mugs because I'm convinced that like I mean whether it's an earthquake or me just shutting my door too hard,
Yeah.
they're gonna like tumble off a shelf or something.
Definitely. So my second pick is a soundtrack vinyl of either yours or your friends or your family's like favorite movie of the year. I'm sure Perry and I have both received many vinyls this year from various different critics groups.
I'm
Uh,
looking at my pile. I can't reach it. It'll
yeah,
be really awkward if you see me like try to reach down and get it right now.
there's so many, and like I was really surprised. I opened up my Oppenheimer one last night, and there was like a full poster inside of it, and like there's a lot of fun stuff that comes in them, and they're like available from Mondo. You can get them at Target. I also just found out that Netflix has their own shop with vinyls of their movies, so I bought myself All Quiet on the Western Front
Mm.
last night. So like there's a lot of those, and that's like really easy to get, like maybe one for each friend if they have record players, or
Oh, that's a good
get them bit by the bug.
Yeah. And then and like you could also go to companies like Waxworks too. They do
Hmm.
such great design. I think actually this guy right here is I don't know if anyone could see it. I think the window's too narrow, but last year or the year before I bought the Waxworks set that they made for the Fear Street movies and it's really nice. It's really nice. And there's just like a different quality when you're playing vinyl compared to anything else. All right, I do have an example for you for my second gift because I am obsessed with graphic tees. There are
Mm.
many companies that I love buying from, but I think my like top tier favorite right now might be Rucking Fountain. A lot of their sales like they sell out, they are timed, so I would recommend signing up so you get the alerts, which is what I do. Signing up can also be a problem because then you like feel the urgency and you can't help but to buy. So I have too many things. This is one of my more recent purchases here.
That is really
It's
cool.
Pearl. It's Pearl. I've got many from them though. Like many. Anytime they drop something and I think there's a chance that that movie will be a favorite of the year or even a past favorite, I feel obligated to buy it. I also just bought something they released for Talk to Me that looks real damn good. I
Ooh.
love that shirt so much. But they have a lot of great stuff, great opportunities to give cool shirts to your loved ones.
My third one is also shirts. I was going to recommend the Paramount store. It has tons of Star Trek stuff. There are so many
Ooh.
fun graphic tees for all of the Star Trek shows, from Prodigy to Picard to Strange New Worlds, everything in between. And there's also like glasses made to look like they're from the Picard winery, and like lots of very fun stuff. So
Cool.
if you have a Trekkie in your life, there are a lot of fun things on that shop to get lost looking at.
That's a good one. All right. This is my biggie. This is my investment suggestion because some of these things can be quite pricey. I am a little bit of like a prop nerd. I
Oh.
love buying screen used props, and it's a habit I need to keep in check because they can. There's some very
Mhm.
affordable ones, but there's also some very pricey ones. And I go on Prop Store a lot. They have a lot of live auctions that you could do. They have a lot of things that just pop up on sale randomly that you could buy. And like really, for someone who deeply loves a movie or a show, man, there's something so exciting about like having something that was
Mhm.
in the show. I don't think I brought this up on dailies. I might have. I don't think I did though in the end. My most recent purchase, like slash win, because it was part of the live auction, was they did an auction for props from Fall the House of Usher, which I love.
Yes.
And all of the proceeds from that like went to a good cause that pertains to the topics that the show explores. And the second I saw that, I said to myself, like, you can get yourself something because that money is going to a good place. And then I narrowed it down. I wanted the chairs. You watched it, right, Maggie?
Yes.
I wanted the chairs so badly. They were selling the chairs that they
Mhm.
have the conversations with in their old the childhood home. It's just I'm glad I didn't do it because when I paid the bill, it's like you pay what you bid, but then also the shipping
Yep.
fee is fairly large. And given the fact that I only bought like teeny tiny things, I can't imagine what the shipping fee on those chairs would be. Also, I have a tiny apartment. I can't fit the chairs here.
Yeah.
I decided to stick with something that pertained to the character of Prospero slash Perry because like is my name. So I got his credit cards.
Oh, I love that.
I wish they worked, but they don't. But now I have them.
I also have a bad habit of looking at prop auctions, so I have the same problem. I only have two props from two different TV shows. I have a nightgown from The Man in the High Castle that I
Oh,
bought
nice.
because I love that show so much, and then I bought a prop from Once Upon a Time. It was the only one that I could afford, and also it was like small. It's just like one of the paper props from Liam Jones, from the Killian episode about his brother and his backstory, because that was like Killian was my favorite character, so I bought that. And it was like $10, but then shipping was like 15
Of
or something because they put it in like a certified envelope to make sure it
course.
gets to you. But yeah, I think it's such a fun way to gift somebody something
Yeah.
that like the people they love have touched. I will say though, I am still mad that everything in the Punisher auction went for so much money. Because I watched that, I watched everything. I had bids on some stuff, and everything went up to like 500, 1,000, like $8,000. And I was just
Yeah.
like,
There's a lot of I've seen a lot of Jurassic Park stuff over the years
mhm,
that go for like wild amounts of money, and I can't ever get my hands on one of those. But
it's
like
sad.
you can always find something affordable in these things, particularly like paper. One thing that I'm really happy that I got is I got Sheriff Riley, so Deputy Dewey, having grown
Yes.
up in Scream 4, his name tag, and that's probably one of my favorite ones, and I have
Oh,
it
I love
framed on my
that.
wall, and I love that one so much. So that is our holiday gift guide. That is our Friday edition of Collider Dailies. That's it. We're done for the week. So
That's
I'm
it.
going to say thank you, Maggie. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
everyone in our live chat and wish you all a wonderful weekend. And we will be back bright and early or like in the afternoon, depending on where you live. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday for a brand new episode of Dailies. We will see you then.